What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Cameron, aka Cameronator, aka Atari the Gamer, aka Atari the Aquarius, aka Boss God Omnipotent Supreme Deity. I'm back here for a breakdown of the 400 gallon. This was my first try at a DIY build. As you can see, it holds water, it works, but it has plenty of imperfections and plenty of things I would have changed along the way. The start, it's 72 inches long, 4 inches deep and 2 feet tall. Looking back, I have no idea, except for the fact that I was overthinking, that I didn't just make it 8 feet long. Should have just made it 8 feet long, would have been less cutting, and then 4 foot deep. And then the 2 foot height isn't horrible. I probably could have went a little bit taller, but I like it for the piece of glass that I end up getting off of a old 125. So that'd be the first thing that I would have extended it. Another thing I would have did was more planning. I just winged this whole thing. I had in my head what I wanted to do, how I wanted to make it. I watched a couple videos, of course, from Joey King of DIY and the other couple people on YouTube to just pick up on some stuff on how they did it. And everything else I just did inside of my head. So, like wrapping it outside with these 2x4s is something I hadn't seen a whole bunch of, but I know you need some framing and some support, so I just decided to do that. This center brace across the top was really just an extra piece of plywood I decided to use and put some lighting underneath. It was some waterproof lighting off of Amazon, and it was a grow light, and I decided to use that, and it ended up working out all right. The lid system is another thing I did. It works, but with this piece of wood I ended up getting, some of it protrudes out of the top, so I couldn't go with a full lid across the top. And the way I decided to do the overflows to keep my versatility made it harder for me to actually put a lid to make it secure. If it was more secure, I might would have got me an arowana or something like that by now, but I'm still holding off on that until I decide what I want to do. So that's really one of the bigger things that this tank doesn't have that most tanks does. It doesn't have a permanent setup as far as overflows and the inputs. If you come over here on the side and see, I just have the 2 inputs coming from the sump on the side here. They're this one isn't even tied down, it's just braced over, and then this one up top, it's just held down, and I just got them both going back into the tank. And they've been doing the job. They're returning my water, keeping my water filtrated for the fish. The overflows are the style that Joey showed on his channel. Really easy to do, and once you build them, I end up doing a weird little wiener on the top to filter out the top of the water, because initially I thought the water was going to be able to be higher, but with the water flow it just wasn't big enough for the hole, so I just decided to make those like that to let the water go in through the top and overflow. And it's been working. Gives me a little bit of surface skimming, and it's able to keep up with the pumps. I could probably add another pump and it'd probably still be able to keep up with the flow rate, since I have 2 of them. They're just this style here that I have, just upgraded in size. So it's just this simple system on the back, and then dropped in there so the water overflows, and then the siphon goes and keeps it rolling. I didn't drill into the side of the tank just because I know that this resonance wasn't going to be permanent for me, so I knew when I decided to move, depending upon what I wanted to do with the aquarium itself, would determine how I wanted to make my permanent overflows. If I wanted to do them on the side, if I wanted to do them in the back like that, anything like that. As far as the appearance of the tank itself, I decided to go with the green pond shield, so it would give it I guess a semi-natural look. I knew I wasn't gonna have enough funding to put live plants in here that could take the beating from the cichlids initially, so I decided to do a green to give it, I mean, I don't want to do the blue because it's not the ocean, but just a little something different than black. On the outside, I really should have just waited to water test it, and I should have stained the outside with whatever type of stain I wanted to go with color-wise. And I should have just stained the outside, let it cure, and then maybe wrapped it in plywood, just so it would be more presentable. This is a very rough job, but it does the job. So down the line, I do plan on removing everything, sanding it, staining it, and making it a bit more so for the stand, I decided to do the stand just like everybody else out of the 2x4s, but I didn't go as overkill as most people do. I know a lot of people they would have did a lot more bracing besides just the center bracing I have here and on the outside, and just this this traditional style. They might have put a couple more in, but it's been holding it, no problems. I'm not nervous about it giving way or anything like that. I know it's well built, so it'll be able to hang in there. I also had some extra the 3/4 inch plywood, so I just put that on top, and the tank is just sitting on the stand. I myself slid it up here and got it on here and settled up, so it's been here for more than a year. No issues, no bowing, swaying. Never looks like it's gonna give. It does the job. So it's just all the stuff that Joey has on his channel to teach everybody. I just went with that and then just used my own ingenuity and stuff that I thought would work for my particular situation. That's the biggest thing I can say to anybody who would want to do it. Just do it and use your own thought process and how you want to go about it. Do a little bit of research and you'll be able to get more done than you think you ever would. It's a lot more doable than people think. And everything I have here is custom, from the overflows to the filtration and everything. The only thing that I did was just buy the pumps. You know, if I could figure out how to build a pump, trust me, I would give it a try, because those can be expensive. So fortunately for me, with the tank being out of wood, is definitely well insulated. So that's one thing. You don't get high fluctuations in the temperature, because the larger volume of the water is pretty well insulated by the wood. That's another thing that I was thinking about also. If I did wrap it, I would probably put some insulation on the sides just to help keep that temperature more stable over time. So this here is the pine shield that I use to seal it. It works on pretty much everything, but it did the job very well. The one thing I will say is, make sure you put a good number of coats on there. I think it said you could go to 3 to 4. I put, I believe, 4 coats on here initially, and I went to seal it. Everything was good. My seams turned out all right. Just use a little bit of fiberglass and follow directions on there, and it'll tell you everything you need to do to get those done. So I fiberglass the seams and everything, but I still had a small amount of leakage on this side when I initially water tested it. So I had to go back, resand the whole inside, and apply another 2 coats I did just to make sure. So I would recommend to have about, I did what, 3 boxes, I believe. So this will be the 3rd box. I still have some left over. But just make sure you put a good amount on here. If I ever to do another tank, I would do just a minimum of 6 coats just to make sure. And yeah, that was one of the biggest problems I had, was the initial, was just making sure that I had everything sealed up 100%. And ever since I took care of that, I haven't had any leaks about it. And then when it comes to sealing here for the glass, I just laid it down, face down, the tank itself, put a nice hefty bead of silicone down, and I set it down on top of there, put some weights on top of it, and allow it to cure for the 24 hours to make sure I had a nice good seal all the way along, around the edges here for the gasket. And I've had no problems from there, because that's the biggest concern people are worried about, is a blowout on the front end of the glass. But luckily I haven't had an issue with that. So yeah, the tank itself, easy enough to build. So overall, my experience doing it and the time I put into it, I would say it's probably a 7 out of 10. It's definitely some things I would have changed, but it did turn out to be an alternative to get me a large aquarium to be able to keep a ton of fish in this aquarium for a reasonable price, and customize it to my needs and experience. the biggest suggestions I would have for anybody, just plan. I should have written more down, and just had a little bit more confidence about what I was gonna do. I'm real a little haphazard sometimes. I just decide to do stuff, and then I'll just do it. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then we go back and do it again. But if you do it right the first time, like the old man say, you ain't got to do it again. So just double check your work and make sure you do it right the first time. So that'd be my biggest thing. If I go back and do an aquarium now, I would base the sizes off my plywood. Most sheets of plywood come 8x4, so I would do an 8-foot long, 4-foot deep. Not necessarily 4 foot tall, depending upon the piece of glass you have. But if you want to do that, it'd just be real easy, 8x4x4, and then it would just be basically just putting it together, screwing, gluing, and then you'd be good to go. But for myself, hopefully, if I can get down to it, I could probably do, 30 foot, 2 foot long, 4 foot tall, and then 8 foot deep, and then get something nice and big to get those arowana, some stingray, something like that, and get those in there. But I definitely encourage anybody who's thinking about it, just do it. And if something like this is just overwhelming for you size-wise, then just pare it down. Try something smaller. I believe there's a sweet spot, people say, for price-wise. It's about, I think, 200 gallons, give or take, that you can get something that's cost-effective. Because the bigger you go, the cheaper it ends up being for you when you build it yourself, as opposed to going to buy something from somebody else. So, yeah, if you have any questions or anything, hit me up in the comments. I'll do my best to answer you. I don't know everything, but I got a little bit of experience from my one time, and then I'm trying to give it another go over there. So I appreciate y'all coming out, watching the video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.